My name is Milagros Lecuona. I am running for mayor for the city of White Plains, a Democratic primary, September 12th. Please look for me in this great magazine, Black Westchester, in the September issue. Thank you. My name is Milagros Lecuona. I'm running for mayor for the great city of White Plains. I am originally from Spain, from the Canary Islands, and have been living in White Plains for 30 years.
Okay. Now, this would be a first. We've never had a female mayor in White Plains, and I don't think we've had a Latino mayor in the state of New York. Is that correct?
That is correct. If elected, I will become the first Latino or Latina mayor in the entire state of New York.
Wow.
To be mayor. Yes.
Wow. What brought you here? What made you? I know you're a city councilwoman now. What made you want to run for mayor?
I have been in the Common Council now for 9 years. My background is I am a trained architect and an urban planner. And that has been my main role in the Common Council. And I have seen through all these years that many things can be done in a different way, in a better way, when it comes to developments, when it comes to decisions that will bring the city in a better direction for the future, when it comes to participation of the residents. And I think that I have the background and the experience to be that person that will be able to bring the residents into that path.
From my research, it seems like you're tapping into a whole group of people who have felt unrepresented up to this point. You know, they don't feel like they've been represented by the current administration, and you know, and these people are drawn to you.
That is correct. Unfortunately, the group keeps growing because I thought that it was a small group of people that the mayor hasn't been paying attention, and now, more month into the campaign, it seems like the mayor really doesn't listen much to anybody. But some groups, they have many resources, and that doesn't make a big impact. They can keep on going with their lives. But other groups, minority groups, people with disabilities, people that they really need support, a bigger support, people that really needs to be listened. And this mayor hasn't been able to do that. I am very honored to be seen as the person that really support citywide all the residents, but that I have been paying special attention to the community that really is in bigger needs.
Okay. Now, what if elected? What will you do to make White Plains better? To make White Plains one White Plains? Because I see sometimes it's not one White Plains.
This is a very important question, because really what we need to do is to have unified White Plains, and equity should be a priority, so that White Plains is a city for everybody, not just for a group of people. So we are talking about policy, we are talking about implementation, we are talking about how to deal with departments that have important decisions, we are talking about boards, we are talking about committees. It's at all levels that we need to address the situation in White Plains, and so that the real representation is out there and equity is a priority.
Okay. With the upcoming, well, we just passed the county legislators putting through the immigration bill, and then the exec vetoing it. How do you feel about the whole Immigration Act?
I am an immigrant, and my daughter actually unfortunately went through the deportation process. And so when I hear that, well, it's these bills are really to protect the residents, and criminals are supposed to be kicked out of the country and things like that. And I said, well, my daughter went through the deportation process not because she was a criminal. It's because the immigration laws put her in what they call the limbo status, which then kind of made her, until she got her own status, she was in this undocumented type of position. And it was the immigration laws that put her in that position when she became an adult. So her crime was to become an adult. And so automatically she was removed from my application. So when I hear things about the criminalization of undocumented and other ways of criminalizing the population, I am very careful first to find out what that criminalization is about. With that said, I am all for safety. I am all for laws that keep our residents safe. And, but again, I want to make sure that when we make decisions related to our population, our minorities, our immigrants, that we are doing the right decisions and not that we are making decisions based on politics. So I think that that bill should pass. I was at the county center the day that the county passed the bill, and I congratulated my colleagues, county legislators there, for having moved this bill forward, and I hope that at the end the veto will not win.
Now I wanted to ask you, one thing I noticed watching the news, you know, a lot of black and brown, we have a lot of the same issues, and one of the things I noticed with this, like they do with black issues, what they do with black issues, they pull out a face that looks like yours to talk positive about this thing that they want to do to your people. I noticed they pulled out some high-ranking Latinos in the county to speak positively about Astorino and the bill, the way they do, you know, black people in the community. And I just found that interesting, because I just found that very interesting. So we have a lot in common, because they do that to us all the time. So I just wanted, that was an observation on my part, that's all.
But this is an excellent observation, and that ties to the fact that the more educated residents are, then the less this kind of situation happens. Because if people can be manipulated for lack of information, for lack of education on subject matters, then that type of manipulation is easier to make. And again, I am not blaming the residents for not having the knowledge on certain things. I think that the government has the obligation to educate and to put the information out there and to make processes, totally participatory processes, so that when things like this happen, then our public is really, really informed and cannot be manipulated.
Mm-hmm. In White Plains, I'm from White Plains, and there's a lot of issues with the Black and Latino community in dealing with the police and excessive use of force. Just last week, there was an elderly man who had a press conference where he felt, elderly white man, exact. He felt that he was abused and he was violated. You had different incidents, and the most well-known is the Kenneth Chamberlain Sr. incident. When you become mayor, what do you do? What do you plan to do to address the use of force issues within the White Plains Police Department?
The use of force in the police, as you are aware, is not just an issue in White Plains, right?
Yes.
So therefore, that what that shows us is that it's a complicated issue. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that it doesn't have to be addressed, mm-hmm. and it has to be addressed at different levels. Mm-hmm. I mean, I tell you that there is no place for abuse of police power, mm-hmm. in my administration. There is place for community engaging, community policing, good training. You know, we have a good department, but like in any other department, there are things that are working, things that are not working. But I think that you need to start to recognize the mistakes and the errors in order to solve them. And we have a system right now that some areas are more protected than others. And by doing that, then errors are not being addressed. So I think that there is plenty of place, lot of area for improvement in the White Plains policemen. I know, I have personally worked with some police members, and I can tell you that they are doing their job, but that doesn't mean that everybody is doing their job. And under my administration, I will make sure that accountability is there, and training, the right training is there, and that the numbers of policemen that we need in the city, it's also there. Because right now, as you are aware, we didn't have enough firefighters in place. We just hired 12 firefighters, but that was after the firefighters came forward complaining about the lack of safety, not only for residents but for their own lives, right? And we still don't know if the department has enough people, because some of the machines that the trucks that they are supposed to pull out of their garages when there is a fire, they still cannot pull them because there is not enough members.
Really? Wow.
So my understanding is that there is the same situation with the police department, that the number of police is not the appropriate, and this is something that needs to be revisited, because you don't want to have policemen that are tired, that they cannot go for training because there is not enough policemen on the streets. So I will really going to look in detail, very closely, the whole structure of the public safety department.
Okay. All right.
And I hope that this is going to be again a participatory process,
Right.
where the right people and all the people that needs to be around that table is
Right.
going to be represented.
Right.
So this is not going to be a decision that is going to come me as Milagros the mayor. It's
Right.
going to be a decision being made as a group of people that knows the issues, and that the brown and black community is at that table.
Okay. With the recent, I definitely, because you're right now, you know, you're making history, and when I was sitting here, it reminded me of the issue that Senator Andrew Stewart Cousins is going through right now with the state legislature. Is there a glass ceiling for women in politics? Because she has made history, but she is still struggling to get the proper power in her position in the state legislature. And you know, people are fighting. You have the independent Democratic caucus, which has taken the power away from the Democrats, and the kind of the disrespect that she is getting, but she's still being graceful, you know, in the process. Is there a glass ceiling for women trying to achieve high positions in politics, and even when you're in the position, there's still some type of pushback from the old guard of politics?
Well, first of all, let me agree 100% with you that she's a very graceful person, and a very hardworking person, and definitely a role model. And when it comes to politics, I think that the glass ceiling is maybe for anything that is not conventional. I mean, if a person that is from the LGBT community also becomes a politician in a higher level, I'm pretty sure that is going to find also forces that wants to go back to the status quo. This is exactly what we are talking about here. We are trying to break the status quo in White Plains. That's the main thing. Like, yes, we are all Democrats right now that are engaged in this primary, but I think that some of us are really Democrats, and while others are the status quo Democrat, which at the present time we don't really know what that really means. And I think that Andrea Stewart Cousin is facing a similar situation in Albany. That there are too many people in power that don't want to leave power, and that they want to persevere in keeping whatever they have, and she's fighting, and good for her.
Right. AJ?
Yes, I'm looking at your slate. Can you name the other people that you're running with, and why? Why you decided to be on a slate with them?
Yes. The names is Al Goldman. He is a businessman, and he has all the knowledge and the background that we need in the Common Council in order to support the small businesses, the local businesses, which are the basics of the local economy. So I'm very pleased to have Alan on board. He and his wife owns a printing business in downtown. They're quite generous with their business, and they have gotten numerous of recognitions from residents in White Plains. And it's a pleasure to work with Alan. He's a very good person. And the other two people are also good persons. I mean, one is Michael Craver. He's a young lawyer with 2 kids. His kids goes to the public school in White Plains. He's a big proponent of public education, and he's a person that professionally it's very interesting to work with him because he's really into the detail, totally reliable. And you can see with my slate that we all bring something different to the table, which makes us so unique. The third person is Sad Siddiqui. He's a Muslim. He is immigrant, has a little boy, and also a criminal lawyer and an immigration lawyer. And he's big in social justice. So also Sad is kind of very intuitive and down to earth. And when you see the 4 of us, it's really the face of White Plains. We are all different colors, different ages, different professions, different interests, but all complementary. We all have the same type of agenda that is to move in White Plains in the right directions, to be proactive and progressive, and inclusionary and participatory processes in place. So it has been a pleasure so far to work with the 3 of them, and I believe that the 4 of us is a dynamite group.
Now here's a question, playing devil's advocate. In this Trump era that we live in right now, and while a lot of people in Westchester don't want to believe that there is racism, we get that all the time. There's no racism, there's no poverty. I don't know where they live, but there's no racism. Well. But anyway, do you think that the people in White Plains and the people in Westchester are ready for a ticket of this background? You know, it's like, you got a Muslim, you got a Latino, in this Trump era. You know what I'm saying? Like this Make America Great era that we're in.
But I think that the Trump era in a place like White Plains, it actually benefits a ticket like ours, because it really shows that we are the future. The Trump era is a consequence of the democratic status quo that we had before, and of an area that nobody wanted to work together. Here we are the face of White Plains. We really represent White Plains, and even so that the Republican Party has endorsed some of us.
Oh yeah?
Yes, because they see that we want to be that ticket for White Plains, not the ticket for a group of people in White Plains.
Right.
So, of course, as you said, playing devil's advocate, people is going to say, oh, and you accepted the Republican line in a Trump area? Of course! I want to be the mayor of everybody, and I want to prove those few people that are really for Trump that they shouldn't be. I want to bring them into our arena, not to exclude them, because we have to start working really where we have a common grounds, not dividing people in those few things that, yes, some of them are really, really important, but you have to start working with people in what is common and then move forward.
Okay. Anything I didn't ask you, about your administration, about your campaign that you want people to know?
I would like people to know that we have a primary September 12th, and that we need all of those Democrats in White Plains that are ready for a change to come out and vote and support my slate and support me for mayor, and that I am so excited just with the thought that I am going to be able to bring all the people in White Plains together and to work together for a better future, and to have you all sitting at my table when time comes for decisions.
Okay.
My name is Milagros Lecuona. I am running for mayor for the city of White Plains, a Democratic primary, September 12th. Please look for me in this great magazine, Black Westchester, in the September issue. Thank you.